Hi, very good morning. I am Dr. Janak Patel, MD, General Physician. All my video lectures are mainly for educative purpose. In continuity with the previous lecture related to CSF, today we'll be discussing on CSF analysis. That is, you collect the CSF in 4 different test tubes and you send it for analysis. So we'll be talking on CSF analysis. So with lumbar puncture or after cysternal puncture or fontanelle puncture, after collecting a adequate quantity of CSF, you have to send it for examination in laboratory, and that we call as CSF analysis. And this CSF is collected by doing a lumbar puncture either in sitting posture or in supine posture, or we call right lateral or left lateral position. So it is called CSF analysis, CSF examination, and the method of collection of CSF is by doing a lumbar puncture or by cysternal puncture or by fontanelle puncture. So this is the lumbar puncture in sitting posture. This is the lumbar puncture in we call lateral position. Lateral position. Here the person is in a left lateral position. And while doing an examination or analysis, we do physical examination, chemical, microscopic, culture, and certain specific test. And after doing all those, you should be able to differentiate between normal and abnormal. We'll be going through all those. So CSF is collected in 4 different test tubes. One test tube is for which is for frozen, that is for chemistry and immunology. One which is at a room temperature, that is for microbiology, and another test tube which is refrigerated is for cell count, differential count, and cytology. So these are the 3 main test tubes which are being there, and 4th test tube is for if you require any one of this. If CSF is less, then you can utilize that 4th test tube. By and large, while collecting the CSF by lumbar puncture, you go for what is called opening pressure. In any normal individual, the opening pressure is between 90 to 180 millimeter of mercury. Sorry, millimeter of water. Millimeter of water. And by mercury wise, we say up to 15 millimeter of mercury. Approximately, we collect 15 to 20 cc of CSF. But in certain condition, the CSF quantity what is being collected is less, because there is a severe raised intracranial pressure in which you cannot remove a large quantity of CSF. And examination should be started or analysis should start within 1 hour without refrigeration. So that should be done as early as possible. So one test tube is for chemistry, one is for microbiology, one is for hematology, and one is for additional test, if any specific test which are being required in CSF. So by and large, you collect in 4 different test tubes. So some say that 5 test tubes. One for what we call as hematology, RBC, WBC, and differential count. One is for protein and glucose. One is for culture, which you send it for bacterial, fungus, and for tuberculosis. And 4th test tube, usually you can send it for gram stain, AFB stain, etc. That is called microscopic examination. And 5th test tube you can utilize for viral culture, for DNA, antibodies, etc. ELISA test, for that purpose you can use. Usually first test tube is 1 ml, second test tube is 1 ml, third test tube is 2 ml, fourth test tube is again around 1 ml, and fifth test tube is 1 to 2 ml. Roughly we require 10 to 15 ml of CSF. So I'll be going through few of those CSF examination, and then we'll be doing the difference between normal, pyogenic, tubercular, and others. So in a physical examination, you look at the quantity of CSF, what is being collected, color, clarity, turbidity, pH, deposits, smell, and opening pressure we call. So opening pressure will be recorded when you are doing a lumbar puncture. So if opening pressure is normal, means there is no raised intracranial pressure. If opening pressure is very high, the CSF will come out with jet. And you can measure the opening pressure by connecting to the manometer. So if opening pressure is more than 20 millimeter of mercury or more than 150 millimeter of water, it will be raised intracranial pressure. And whenever there is a block, you can go for quick and state test. If the CSF is coming out very slowly in a form of a drops and you are suspecting block, you can go for quick and state test. Or if a CSF test, if CSF doesn't come out, we call that as a dry tap. That we'll be discussing in lumbar puncture. And in chemical analysis, you go for sugar examination, protein. Usually chloride, this particular CPK, LDH, lactate level are not very commonly done. ADA is done very frequently whenever you are suspecting tuberculosis. Bilirubin examination and xanthochromia is common test which is being done. You can go for colloidal test or Pandes test, and you can also ask for PCR test. Usually these are done as a special test. But the most common is sugar, protein. These two are most common which are being done. And then you go for what we call as microscopic examination. In microscopic, RBC, total count, differential count, gram stain, Zn stain, and if you are suspecting malignancy, you can go for malignant cell examination. And in specific condition for fungal, parasites, or leukemic cell examination. And in suspected case of infection, culture and antibiotic sensitivity. And you can also go for cytology or flow cytology. And culture is usually done for bacterial, mycobacterium, virus, as well as fungus. So that will be specific test which you can go for. So we are going with physical examination. In any normal person, a normal CSF, you usually remove 10 ml to 15 ml depending upon what test you are asking for. Color, it is always clear, colorless, and there is no turbidity. It is almost like water. pH is usually little towards acidic side, little towards. So pH is little less. There is no deposit at the bottom, there is no smell, and CSF pressure is normal. But if you look in this particular, you can see that the color is yellow. While here it is little other color, little reddish color. You can see these are all reddish color. This indicates blood. While here you can see that there is no turbidity, but there is a sediment. So there is some material which is getting deposited at bottom, which may be pus cells. If it is reddish in color, it may be RBC, or it may be cell, etc. So look a physical appearance in all this property. So we'll be going through one by one. So normal opening pressure is between 90 to 180 in adult, and in children 10 to 100. You will have a opening pressure being high in case of meningitis, cerebral edema, raised intracranial pressure, SOL, in superior vena cava, obstruction, congestive heart failure, etc. You will have a elevated pressure. While pressure will be reduced in dehydration if a person who is in a shock stage, if a person has got CSF leak, or if there is, I've already mentioned it before, if there is a subarachnoid block above the level of what we call as above the lumbar puncture where you have done. So in that case, the opening pressure will be very low, or sometime there will be no CSF coming out through a lumbar puncture. So pressure will be elevated in raised intracranial pressure because of meningitis, intracranial hemorrhage, SOL or tumors, venous sinus thrombosis, cerebral edema. Opening pressure will be elevated abnormally in all this condition. While pressure will be decreased, we have already mentioned dehydration, shock stage, CSF leak and subarachnoid block, where CSF pressure may be markedly low. And if there is a complete block, you can have almost CSF pressure not recordable. Now when you look at the color, so normally it is crystal color, clear, absolutely like water. But it will be turbid if there is a presence of RBC or WBC or say excess of protein. It will be little turbid in color. Xanthochromia is little yellowish in color. This is little xanthochromic. You can see little yellowish in color. So it is yellow or orange or little pinkish in color. And it is very classical in case of subarachnoid hemorrhage or intracranial bleed. And you will get xanthochromia after 24 to 48 hours of a bleed. And it is because of RBC breakdown, and you have got formation of bilirubin because of RE system, and that will give rise to little yellowish color. And similar type of color you can get in tubercular meningitis also. Absolutely pink color or reddish color, red color like this. It is because of intracranial bleed or subarachnoid hemorrhage. You can have little orange color, very frequently can be because of without RBC in case of high intake of carotene, that is beta carotene. It may be greenish in color in case of hyperbilirubinemia, or there may be a purulent meningitis, particularly Klebsiella, or maybe because of staphylococci infections. And it will be brownish in color in case of secondary metastasis from melanoma. So this will be some of them, but most commonly you will come across xanthochromia, that is yellow color, or maybe little turbid, or maybe red in color because of presence of RBC in CSF, and very rare to come across green color or brown color, not very common. So short note can be asked on xanthochromia in your theory, and you will see when you get an CSF, if you see clear yellow color, it is usually we call as yellow color, and occasionally it may be pink or little orange in color depending upon the amount of bile pigments which are present in CSF. And this is because of RBC lysis, hemoglobin breakdown, and then it is converted into bilirubin by RE system, and it will be present minimum after 24 to 36 hours of a bleed inside. And very commonly you will come across in case of subarachnoid hemorrhage, intracranial hemorrhage, if there is a massive infarct, and it may be also present after traumatic lumbar puncture. And in a case of a traumatic lumbar puncture, it will be present in after 24 to 36 hours. So this is important. Once in a while you come across pink or orange color CSF in case of a melanin, rifampicin, or even with person who has taken a large quantity of carotenoids, that is beta carotene, if is consuming that. So xanthochromia is quite commonly present following a bleed, and it is most common is subarachnoid hemorrhage, and also may be seen in a person with intracranial hemorrhage. So this will be reddish in color, and usually all the test tube will be same color. But in a case of a traumatic, first test tube will be markedly red, second test tube will be little less, and third test tube will be much less. So xanthochromia is quite common in subarachnoid and intracranial hemorrhage, traumatic tap, person with jaundice, elevated protein level may also produce little xanthochromic. Then in a premature infants also it may be seen. Person with hypercarotinemia who is consuming a good quantity of beta carotene, and very rarely in case of malignant melanoma metastasis, meningeal malignant melanoma. So once in a while, and you can have a little reddish color because of rifampicin also, not yellow color but more of little orange or reddish color. So these are the different color which makes a differential diagnosis. Little pinkish in color, RBC lysis or hemoglobin breakdown products. Yellow because of hyperbilirubinemia. Orange because of hemoglobin breakdown products or hypervitaminosis A, or we call hypercarotinemia, which can end up little greenish in color, yellow or greenish in color because of biliverdin, and that will be because of hyperbilirubinemia, particularly very commonly seen in obstructive jaundice, and in children it is quite common, we call kernicterus, and it may be brownish in color in case of meningeal metastatic melanomas. You will have to differentiate from traumatic tap, xanthochromia, and frank subarachnoid hemorrhage. In subarachnoid hemorrhage, the entire test tube will be reddish in color and it will not clear, and there will be no clot formation. While in traumatic tap, there will be a clot formation and blood will clear after second or third test tube. Xanthochromia will be little pinkish color or more of yellowish color. In traumatic tap, you can see here the first test tube will be bright red, second test tube will be little less, and third test tube will be clear. That will be very classical in case of a traumatic tap, while uniform and same color in case of a subarachnoid hemorrhage. So to differentiate traumatic tap, decrease amount of the blood after withdrawal in each test tubes will contain clots very frequently. Usually the first test tube itself will be containing clot. Usually you will not have a xanthochromia, and when you centrifuge, the supernatant will be clear. While in case of an intracranial hemorrhage or subarachnoid hemorrhage, there is no clot, there will be always xanthochromia, and blood will be evenly distributed in all the test tubes, and you will be able to detect hemosiderin or hematoidin crystals in CSF. So same what we have given before, that is being given in 2 tab, that is gross appearance, centrifugation, microscopic. RBC will be seen in case of subarachnoid, while you will not have a RBC in a last test tube. CSF pressure will be normal in traumatic, while it will be always elevated in subarachnoid hemorrhage. CSF protein will be normal in traumatic, while protein will be elevated in subarachnoid. Supernatant will be clear absolutely in case of traumatic, while this will be little yellowish in color, or we call xanthochromia, will be common. Now we go to what we call as chemical examination. Usually pH etc. are not commonly being done. So if we just go through, turbidity will be very frequently seen in if it contains albumin or pus cells, or there is a high protein content, it will be turbid. Turbid means you can't see the material through the test tube, and it will be crystal clear in a normal CSF where you can see the things through that. So best way is you keep a test tube close to any particular letter, and if you can read through the test tube, it is crystal clear. And if you can't see those letters clearly, it is usually turbid. And we have mentioned that pH does not help at all. When you centrifuge and if there is a deposit at the bottom, that deposits is always abnormal. In a normal, there is no deposits. Commonly you will come across pus cells and RBC. RBC will be red color deposit, while if you get a little yellowish color or whitish color deposit, it may be crystal, It may be pus cells, smell. In case of a severe pyogenic meningitis, you might have a pungent smell, and I already mentioned regarding a pressure. So usually you look at the test tubes. Those things are for theory. So chemical examination is usually done for sugar, protein. These are the two common things which is being done. And for tubercular meningitis, you ask for ADA, that is adenosine deaminase. So adenosine deaminase, if it is elevated more than 50, it will be more in favor of tubercular meningitis. While other tests are routinely not being done, they are done in a selective cases. We'll be going through sugar and protein. So this is a normal composition, what is being there. We have already shown you in a previous lecture, that is in CSF formation, etc. And we know that the protein content is markedly low in a normal CSF, and glucose is also 60% of what is present in blood. pH is little less, means little towards acidic side as compared to blood plasma. Blood plasma is 7.4 while CSF is 7.3, but usually we are not interested in that part. So we look for mainly protein and glucose. These are the two main common things we look for. So whatever glucose which is present in blood, 60% of that is filtered out in CSF. And this 60% will be utilized if there is any infection, either bacterial infection or tubercular infection. But in case of viral infection, usually glucose is not utilized. It does not become very less. Maximum utilization of glucose will take place in a bacterial meningitis than tubercular meningitis. Indirectly, glucose will be low in bacterial meningitis, tubercular meningitis. These two will be the most common. Then comes fungal, and very rarely you will come across sarcoidosis, carcinomatosis, amoebic cysticercosis, etc. These are absolutely rare. The most common is bacterial and tubercular. While another odd conditions may also produce little low sugar like syphilis, subarachnoid meningitis, mumps, herpes simplex, and also as we know in a hypoglycemia, as such the blood sugar is low, 60% of that will be much less. So in that condition also you will have a low CSF. So simultaneously when you are collecting the CSF and sending it for examination, you should also look for blood sugar level. While protein, in protein normally we look for the total protein which is between 15 to 45, we roughly say 40 milligram is the upper limit, of which the maximum is what we call as albumin, which is 56 to 76%. Usually we do not go for a separate estimation of albumin and globulins. This will be indicated when you are suspecting an immune mediated disorders. In those conditions, and particularly when you are looking for an antibodies. But mainly we look for the total protein. So if total protein is more than 40, we call usually that as elevated protein level. Now if the protein level is markedly elevated, it is more in favor of tubercular meningitis and pyogenic meningitis. While just marginally elevated will be more common in case of viral encephalitis. So total protein normal level is between 15 to 45. Increased level usually will come across, we have already mentioned, mainly in case of meningitis, that is pyogenic and tubercular meningitis. And once in a while you can come across also elevated in subarachnoid hemorrhage, in blocks, also in case of Guillain-Barré, etc. So increased level of CSF protein will be very classical in case of bacterial, fungal and tubercular. Also you might see a little elevated level in case of subarachnoid hemorrhage, intracranial hemorrhage, and also in mechanical obstruction like tumor, disc or abscess, and Also you will see in a GBS, quite common. Also rare disease like neurosyphilis, multiple sclerosis, then SSP. This is subacute sclerosing panencephalitis. And even in case of a cerebrovascular disease, particularly in case of a massive infarct, etc., also CSF protein may be slightly elevated, secondary due to RBC appearance in CSF. We are not going into detail that there are 300 different proteins which are identified in CSF. We are not going into that detail. So at your leisure time, if you are interested, you can go through. But remember, meningitis, particularly bacterial, fungal, and tubercular. Second is hemorrhage. Third is mechanical obstruction. And don't forget GBS. These diseases are very, very rare. Neurosyphilis, multiple sclerosis, then GBS and cerebrovascular disease. So most common bacterial, tubercular, and fungal, subarachnoid hemorrhage, intracranial hemorrhage, and obstruction, mechanical obstructions. CSF lactate levels. CSF lactate levels are usually not being done commonly. They are increased because of the hypoxia, very commonly seen in head injury and bacterial meningitis. There is another thing which is not commonly being done again, glutamine level, which will be increased with increase in ammonia, and this is quite common in case of hepatic encephalopathy. LDH enzymes more commonly again elevated in case of a traumatic brain injury or in case of a massive infarct. CPK will be again elevated in case of again a brain damage, and usually it is a CPK-BB which will be elevated. So ammonia level will be elevated much more in case of a hepatic encephalopathy. You can go for that, but not commonly being asked for. So, and CSF leak can be there in case of basal fracture skull, and you can have a CSF leak from ear, we call otorrhea, CSF otorrhea, and if it comes out from the nasal cavity, we call CSF rhinorrhea. You can have a bleeding as well as you can have a cerebrospinal fluid leakage, and once in a while, following up lumbar puncture, you can have a CSF leakage from the lumbar puncture site, and that will produce low pressure headache. LDH enzyme, I've already told you, it will be elevated in metastatic brain tumors and brain damage. Also in case of meningioma, glioblastomas, etc., it will be elevated. These are those particular conditions we call tumor, rarely being done, and it is not disease specific. Also it will be elevated in bacterial meningitis. CPK enzymes study particularly will be elevated in epileptic patient, brain tumors, cerebral infarcts. Again, not specific, so it is not commonly being done. Then ADA is very useful whenever you are in doubt. In tubercular meningitis, it is adenosine deaminase. If it is more than 15, it is more in favor of tubercular meningitis. So it will be an additional clue. Then you can go for calcium level, phosphate level, etc., chloride, magnesium in a selective conditions. I am not going into detail at all. Now regarding a microscopic examination in a normal CSF, no RBC, usually 0 to 5 WBC, mainly all lymphocytes. Gram stain will be negative, Zn stain will be negative, no malignant cells, no other material like fungus, parasite or leukemic cell demonstrable. And as there is no bacteria, culture will be negative. So this will be a typical normal picture. Now if you get anything abnormal, that is if you get RBC present, WBC being elevated, Gram stain positive, Zn stain positive, and you demonstrate malignant cell in CSF, all these are abnormal. So certain special tests, particularly VDRL test, You can go for electrophoresis, try to identify which type of immunoglobulins are being elevated, IgG, IgM, or there is other abnormal protein which are being elevated. You can go for specific antibody for Lyme's virus disorders or toxoplasmosis, and you can even send the material for PCR to confirm the diagnosis of tuberculosis, cytomegalovirus, HIV, or certain groups of bacteria. It can be utilized for any one of these in case of doubt or in a specific condition. So you can go for spectrophotometry, cytology for malignant tumors, then RT-PCR for tuberculosis. Even you can go for non-bacterial infection also. You can go for PCR study in a demyelinating disease, oligoclonal antibody by electrophoresis. In neurosyphilis, you can go for VDRL test. Cryptococcus, there is an antigen detection test, and you can go for culture. For HIV, you can go for culture, antigen detection, and antiviral antibodies test. These are special tests done in a selective condition only. So CSF and lumbar puncture, along with that we do a certain test which will be there, and you can send it for a special staining like Indian ink, or which is very commonly done for Cryptococcus. For specific tests for AFB, Jaden stain, and PCR for tuberculosis. You can go for viral PCR, particularly herpes simplex virus, cytomegalovirus, Epstein-Barr virus, and other viruses, West Nile virus, Eco, Arbo, etc. VDRL test will be done whenever you are suspecting neurosyphilis. You can go for fungal culture, viral culture, PCR, and antibody titers, specifically in Lyme's disease and other. Electrophoresis to detect an oligoclonal antibody, IgG, IgM, you can detect. You can go for cytology in case of a malignancy, etc. In Alzheimer's disease, you can go for a specific test. There is a specific material, beta amyloid type can be detected, and that will be decreased level. In Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease also, there will be dementia, and it will be negative for. So this will be elevated CSF 14:3:3 in a patient with progressive dementia. You will be able to find out that this is decreased. Tau T tau, that is specific. So usually if you look at the composition, 99% is water, solid is less than 1%. And among those, protein, amino acids, sugar, cholesterol, urea, uric acid, creatinine, and you can get lactic acid. Usually we look for protein and sugar only, while inorganic substance, particularly we don't look for sodium, potassium, magnesium, chloride, etc. We don't look for. Only in a specific condition you look for sodium, potassium, magnesium, and chloride, not commonly being done. So indirectly a normal CSF opening pressure will be between 90 to 180, or if we look in a millimeter of mercury, we say between 10 to 15 millimeter of mercury. Appearance is clear, colorless. As far as blood cell is concerned, RBC will be 0. White cells are always less than 5, and all are usually lymphocytes, or we call mononuclear cells. Glucose is 60% of blood sugar. By and large, if the blood sugar is normal, we say take it for say around 100, then it will be around 60 in CSF. Total protein is between 15 to 45. As far as the bacteria is concerned, gram stain, culture, or VDRL will be always negative. pH will be little less than 7.35. So it will be between 7.28 to 7.32. That is, we roughly say 7.3. Antibodies, none of the antibodies will be detected. LDH will be normal, will be less than 2. Lactate level will be also less. Chloride level will be between 110 to 125. There will be no cancer cell, no cryptococcus, and glutamine level will be also normal. So this will be normal CSF. Now this is one thing which is very frequently asked in your theory. I'll be talking mainly of three common things, that is viral, bacterial, tubercular, and we'll compare with normal. This is most commonly being asked in your oral as well as in your theory, asked as usually as a short note. So in a normal opening pressure, I'm comparing all the four. Fungal, very rarely it will be asked, but normal opening pressure is 10 to 20 centimeter. It is, say, if you take in a centimeter, you can say 10 to 100 to 180 millimeter of water. It will be elevated very high in case of bacterial and tubercular, while slightly elevated in case of viral encephalitis. Clarity wise, it will be absolutely clear in normal as well as viral, but it will be cloudy or we call turbid in case of bacterial and tubercular, and specifically in tubercular it will be little xanthochromic side, we call yellow color. As far as cell count is concerned, in normal it is less than 5 cells, while in case of viral it will be little more, not in thousands, very rare, but in bacterial it is always in thousands. We say always in thousands and it is very high, while in case tuberculosis we say it is in 100. So usually we say that in 100 tubercular, in thousands it is bacterial, and in slightly elevated, not very much elevated. This figure is not, this is very high, this is not proper. It should be around 10, 20, 30, 40 like that. That will be more common in viral. In viral mainly all are lymphocytes. In bacterial 90% are neutrophils. In tuberculosis again 90% are lymphocytes. Fungal also it is mainly lymphocytes. While in normal whatever cells are present, mainly they are monocytes. We always say lymphocytes. Protein, that is we say always CSF to plasma glucose level. Here it will be 60% of the plasma glucose. In fungal it will be normal or slightly reduced. Viral usually it is normal, while it is very low in case of bacterial and in case of tuberculosis. So it is much more lower in case of bacterial as compared to tuberculosis. But protein content wise, highest level in normal is around 40 milligram. In viral slightly elevated about 40, means say we say about 50, and it will be markedly elevated in tubercular, while elevated to even 1000 milligram. This is 40 milligram, this is 1000 milligram in case of bacterial, and much more higher in case of tubercular meningitis. So this is a standard thing very frequently being asked. You should be aware of this. This will be typically seen if you collect a CSF before starting a treatment. Once the treatment is started, this classical picture will change. This is something additional being added. Smell usually will get only in case of bacterial. It will be always absent in case of tubercular, viral, fungal and normal person. Usually you will have a deposits in a tuberculosis. We usually get the deposit on the top layer. We call a cobweb formation, which is very classical. While in case of a bacterial, there will be deposit at the bottom. In viral, usually less likely. In fungal, you might get some deposits, but in normal, there is no deposit. Chloride will be low in case of bacterial, tubercular, and may be low in case of fungal because of persistent vomiting. Gram stain will be positive in case of bacterial, while it will be negative in case of tuberculosis. And here either you will detect gram positive organism or gram negative organism. And Jaden stain will be positive in case of tuberculosis, while it will be negative in all other. And for fungal, you will need a specific test or staining we call as an Indian ink staining, and that will show you a fungal infection. Malignant cell will be negative in all. It will be only seen in a person with secondary metastasis, leukemia, or in a primary malignancy. So this will be typical. Culture, you will get a virus positive in viral culture. Bacterial culture will show you bacteria grown, and we call as apic AFB for culture will show you AFB organism, and you can go for a fungal culture, while culture will be always negative in case of a normal. Usually we don't ask for CPK, BB and LDH. They will be all elevated in viral, bacterial, tubercular and fungal. And ADA will be elevated in case of tuberculosis more than 15, while it will be less than 15 in viral, bacterial and fungal. Xanthochromia will be seen sometime in case of tubercular, while it will be usually negative in all other. Pande's test will be positive in case of tuberculosis. Lactate level will be high in case of bacterial, tubercular and fungal. LDH level will be also high in case of bacterial and slightly elevated in case of tuberculosis. PCR test, you can detect virus, you can detect bacteria, you can detect tuberculosis, and ELISA test will be very helpful in case of viral, bacterial and tubercular. This is all throughout 3 slides. Just go through your leisure time. Very useful, very important in your theory as well as in your oral. And once in a while someone will come to you in your family member or your relative and will show you the CSF picture what is here. So you should be able to argue out and answer properly. No doubt, good number of time a good laboratory will mention at the bottom conclusion that it is more in favor of bacterial, it is more in favor of viral, or it is more in favor of tuberculosis, etc. Do look at that and then answer. Same thing given here. This is given in a horizontal that bacterial meningitis, viral, tubercular, fungal and syphilitic. At your leisure time you can go through. There is something called as a Freund syndrome. Freund syndrome means it is one of the condition where there is a albumino cytological dissociation, and this particularly will be happening very frequently along with xanthochromia. There is a high protein level, so protein level will be elevated along with xanthochromia, and it is caused by irritation of meninges. And this particular condition can also be seen with CSF blockage by a tumor or a mass or an abscess. And in this particular condition, you will come across cell count will be less, protein content will be high. So we'll be just going through. This can be asked as a short note, and once in a while you will see a CSF picture. Definition of Freund syndrome: it is a change in the CSF below the level of subarachnoid block. You will come across a condition where you will get these particular things together. Low CSF pressure, will get xanthochromia, raised protein, normal sugar, quickened state test will be positive, means you will demonstrate a block. There will be albuminocytological dissociation, so protein level is high, cell count is low. So cell count is normal and proportionately protein level is high. When you get all these things together, you will label that as Freund syndrome. And this will be very commonly seen in Guillain-Barré, spinal cord tumor, tubercular subarachnoiditis, blocks. You will have CSF pressure low, turbid, deposits, sugar level will be normal, protein will be high, cell count will be low, mainly lymphocytes, no organisms. Usually we don't go for a gold curve or a Pande's test, and main differential diagnosis will be meningitis and blocks. You will have to look for that. So Guillain-Barré syndrome is the most common condition you will be looking for. Also there will be blocks, acoustic neuroma, meningitis, multiple sclerosis, spinal tumors, etc. can also produce Freund syndrome. So low pressure, xanthochromia, high protein and positive quickened state test in favor of Freund loculation syndrome. Or also we label albuminocytological dissociation as a Freund syndrome, where you have got increased CSF protein with normal cells, normal CSF during first week, but after second week of onset of that blockage, you will have albuminocytological dissociation. So that is classical Freund syndrome you will come across. So when you tap, you will get this color of CSF. We call xanthochromic CSF. So you will have to differentiate between these three: bacterial meningitis, viral meningitis, and tubercular meningitis. Protein will be very high in case of bacterial meningitis and tubercular meningitis. In viral, usually protein may be slightly elevated. Cell count will be very high in case of bacterial meningitis, and glucose will be markedly low, while it will be slightly reduced in case of viral and bacterial. Usually in viral, it is close to normal. So in bacterial meningitis, glucose will be markedly low, protein will be markedly high, and cell count will be high, and mainly neutrophils. While in viral, glucose may be close to normal or slightly reduced, protein may be marginally elevated, and you might have slight increase in the cell, mainly lymphocytes. And in tubercular, glucose will be reduced, protein will be high, and in a late stage of tubercular meningitis, protein will be much more elevated, and you will have a cell count in 100. Here cell count will be in a thousands. Here it will be neutrophils. Here this will be mainly lymphocytes. So I end my lecture here. Probably I would try to cover up as much as possible in CSF analysis, and mainly it is very important from everyday practice. You will come across bacterial meningitis, tubercular meningitis, viral encephalitis. These three diseases are very common in your everyday practice, and CSF picture before starting a treatment is absolutely necessary. So go through it at leisure time. It will be very useful to you in your theory, in your exams, in your oral exams, as well as when you start doing your private practice or someone shows you a laboratory report. So I thank you all for taking out time. I know that your time is valuable, and I appreciate that you have spent some of the time with me. If you like this particular lecture, please don't forget to press button like, and if you feel that it is helpful to your friends, you can share with your friends.